It's a matter of national security, declared the minister. What comes to mind when you hear such an alarming statement? With Canada's defense strategy based on three oceans, the United States, and alliances, what do you visualize when you hear national security is declared? What menace might the minister be referring to? Hey, there's a lot riding on getting this right. Not everything can be a matter of national security, because then nothing would be. How about if the minister was talking about government funding for the CBC? Does that fit easily into your view of national security? Because a Canadian federal government minister did say exactly that.
So I'm proposing that we anchor that new role directly in the legislation, the role that CBC must play.
Clearly, we need a common understanding of what national security is. Simply put, defending and preserving our sovereignty is the real focus of national security. National sovereignty, in the simplest of terms, refers to the ability of states to govern themselves within internationally recognized borders. It is essential to recognize that there is both a domestic and an international component to national sovereignty. Domestically, Canada must have a functioning government and be able to defend itself. Internationally, Canada must be able to make international agreements and to ensure other states recognize our borders.
When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line.
States interact with each other through three principal lenses: diplomatic, economic, and security. So how do we achieve these goals of national sovereignty and national security both domestically and internationally? How do we talk about and conceptualize what is good for Canada? These goals and objectives are referred to as our national interests. National interests are simultaneously both purely selfish, what is best for us, and one of compromise. What are we prepared to give to keep the international system functioning? The international system is, at its essence, a series of written and unwritten rules, customs, and practices that most states have agreed to. It is also important to note that some states make agreements they have no intention to keep. This highlights the fact that every international agreement effectively reduces a nation's sovereignty in some manner. Navigating these waters and maintaining the right balance requires our best people with clear aims. It is super complex, always in flux, and always being challenged. States routinely deviate from established norms, agreements, and alliances to act in their own interest. Absolute international stability, however desirable, remains elusive because upon whose rules would we establish such stability? Think about that. Whose rules would govern all? Domestically, Canada must remain as self-reliant as it can be while simultaneously being wise and courageous enough to be constantly adjusting its international relationships. Every treaty, every convention, every agreement and trade deal should aim to bring more benefit than constraint. To achieve this, we must recognize and prepare for international negotiations for what they are: bare-knuckle fights. In such fights, Canada must be guided by its national interests. And so from that perspective, we should accept that states have no eternal allies, no perpetual enemies, only enduring interests. Canada has no eternal allies and no perpetual enemies, only enduring interests. Connected to sovereignty as it is then, Canada's national interests would include world-class diplomats and trade negotiators, a strong and resilient economy, a robust and empowered security apparatus, recognition and preservation of our borders, cultural preservation, and a competent and focused government. Consider, for example, the recent actions by the United States administration through the lenses of diplomacy, economy, and security. While considerably outside diplomatic norms, ignoring economic agreements, chaotic messaging, and challenges to NATO, the United States remains a sovereign state and thus is free to act and accept risk in what it sees are its own interests. This is precisely the freedom each state seeks to retain. I am not attempting to judge the wisdom or legalities of these U.S. actions, rather, to present a model for examining just what we mean by sovereignty, national security, and national interest. This model clearly shows that Canadian enduring national interests are uniquely Canada's business. In the current international climate, therefore, perhaps we need a mirror, not a megaphone. On any scale, Canada has become a poor ally. From a security perspective, we do not live up to our stated commitments to NORAD or NATO. From an economic perspective, you tell me if saying no to Germany and Japan for a natural gas agreement was prudent. By the way, that same Canadian natural gas is now being sold to a US company who is making nice profits selling it to Europe. How exactly does that serve our national enduring interests? Taking a quick look at the global situation from a diplomatic, economic, and security perspective, how is Canada postured? Is it designed to withstand the turmoil? Are we as free to act as we could be? Have we paid enough attention to our diplomacy, our economy, our national security? What grade would you give our diplomats? How about having a Minister of Foreign Affairs who allows her local riding demographic to determine foreign policy? Many physical international borders are being violated, and hybrid war is raging. Are we ready for that? Are we ceding Canadian sovereignty in the digital space to other states, to corporations, or privately held algorithms? From these viewpoints, I'll leave it to you to determine if we should be declaring the survival of the CBC as a matter of national security. Feel free to rant away at any foreign leader you please, but when you look in the mirror, are you impressed with Canada's ability to protect its sovereignty? Do our national enduring interests truly drive our international agreements and our domestic policies? Did you see any of Canada's allies rushing to complain against the 51st state remarks from the US President?
You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't discuss Canada.
What does that tell you about Canada? Not the US, Canada, and its place in the world. When you discover Canada is not as able to respond as you'd like, be it diplomacy, the economy, or security, well then, that's when your loudest criticisms belong on home ice. And criticize you should, my fellow citizens. Criticism may not be agreeable, but it is necessary. Canada's national security can only be about the protection of Canada's sovereignty. Canada must consider its domestic values and ideals against its actual tangible power, which is exercised through the lenses of diplomacy, economy, and security. Canada is a magnificent country with unlimited intellectual power and natural resources. It should be the best of places to live. Are you, prepared to understand and contribute to this place we call home? Only Canada really cares about Canada. Our actions must be derived from our actual national enduring interests that in turn shape our national security posture and protect our sovereignty. When we say it's a matter of national security, we better understand it and we better mean it.